I'll take him.
He's a lot.
Okay, I love a lot. I'm a lot. Hey guys, how are y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. My name's Megan Arnold. I'm the counselor at Governor's School. I think we maybe have a few more kids coming, but there's one.
There's supposed to be two more,
Two more?
but I don't know if they're coming.
Okay, well, we can go ahead and get started, and then that way, if somebody struggles in a few minutes, we can catch them up if we need to. Okay?
Real quickly, I'm going to pass around the sign-in sheet. If you'll just sign in that you are here.
So I'm a little off the edges of the screen here.
Keeps doing that.
That's what I've heard, but you know what? That's no big deal. We know what it says. It's not that hard, right? I was telling our friend who was helping me with this, I'm pretty sure that y'all are the kind of folks who can extrapolate and figure out what I'm talking about, even if it's not exactly on the screen. There we go. All right, so today we're going to talk about what a Governor's School is. We're going to talk about what classes we have available at Southwest Virginia Governor's School. I'm going to let you know about some special opportunities that are offered through our school. We're going to talk about what the Swivigis location is like. We're going to see what some of our students have to say about Swivigis. These are some of our current students. Some of my faves, if I can be so bold. And then we're going to also talk about what the application process is like. So as we're moving through this presentation, if you have a question, please don't feel like you have to wait until the end. I'm perfectly happy to answer your questions as we go. Sometimes I might say, wait a minute, that's on the next slide, because you guys seem to have a way of understanding like what's coming up even before I say it, so that's pretty cool. Come on in, have a seat. So these are all the governor schools in Virginia right now, okay? And we are number 16 right there. And all those counties that are blue are eligible to send students to Southwest Virginia Governor's School. Because these guys can send folks to that governor's school or this governor's school, right? And you see that happens a couple of times through there, right? So, yes.
I don't know if you realize, but you're being recorded
Yes.
for anyone who missed. So I just
Yes,
wanted to make
yes.
sure you knew.
Yes, that's fine. I don't mind at all. So when the governor's school concept came up way back in the day, each of these governor schools were able to decide for themselves what their focus would be. Okay, some of these guys over here think a lot about marine biology, maybe because they're near the ocean. Some of these guys up here are thinking about political science. Right here in Southwest Virginia, we're thinking about math and sciences. We're Southwest Virginia Governor's School for Math, Science, and Research. So the reason governor schools came about is folks came to know that there was a population of student that was pretty consistently in every single school. But these students were those kinds of students who really kind of wanted a little bit more out of their education. Sometimes they had questions that they wanted answers to, but there wasn't enough time during regular class to figure that stuff out. And sometimes they already knew what was going on, so they would get bored. So what are we going to do with these kids, right? We have to give these kids a free and appropriate public education, if you've ever heard of that. So these students are going to need to be able to be challenged at school just like their classmates. But that can get expensive. So this idea arose where we would take kids who are in close proximity to each other geographically, put them all in one spot, pool our resources, and educate them all together. So that's how governor schools came about. That's what I said. So this is our governor's school. You can't see right there, but it was established in 1990 on this campus. When Governor School started, we were in that, what's that building out there now, Ms. Pratt?
Cougar Center.
Cougar Center. That was where the Governor School was when it started. And it was established for math and science. So let's talk about, what's that?
You mean to tell me y'all got windows?
My dad went to that governor's school when it was here. He got windows.
When I went to school here, I took my German class out here. Yeah, I went to school here too. So every class at Governor School is dual enrolled. Anybody in here take a dual enrollment class right now? Some of our school systems don't let kids take dual enrollment classes until they're juniors. But what that means is you get high school credit for your classes you take at Governor School, and then you also get college credit for those classes. So the classes you take at Governor School come back in here to Pulaski County High School and count towards your graduation requirements. They're also included on your Pulaski report cards. But additionally, you get college credit for those classes. So And again, these classes are designed to challenge our talented and gifted students. So our dual enrollment is through New River Community College and Radford University. We're actually on the campus of New River Community College. So the fact that we are there and most of our schools are enrolled through New River is advantageous, because even today I had a student who wanted a transcript from New River for a college application, and we walked down the hall and got one. And that was really very easy for us to do. But additionally, and if you take dual enrollment classes here at Pulaski County High School, you may already know this too, the New River Community College is part of the Virginia Community College System, the VCCS. And the VCCS has already had conversations with all of the colleges and universities in Virginia. And they've already decided how each of the classes that are offered at New River will transfer into those specific programs in each of those colleges and universities. That's every college and university in Virginia. But now it's lots of schools outside of Virginia as well. Makes it easy to see how your classes are going to transfer within some kind of a program. And we can find that stuff out with Radford University classes too. It's just not as streamlined, right? And the classes, most of our classes, like I said, are New River Community College classes. The classes we had at Radford this year are Astronomy 1, Astronomy 2, and then we had a cryptography class last semester, and we also have an Arctic geophysics class. And those are the only classes we have that are enrolled through Radford University right now. And students who come to Governor School for 2 years and take the minimum number of credits earn 50 college credits while they're with us. Now, you might be thinking, 50 college credits, what does that mean? My high school diploma is 24 credits, is that right? High school advanced degree?
28.
28.
Right, for us, right
Okay,
now.
okay.
To change here.
Okay, so but still we're talking about, below 30 credits, okay, for your whole 4 years in high school. But in college, your 4-year degree in college is about 120 credits. So it's just a different system of counting. It's like a different unit of measurement, okay? So 50 college credits out of 120, that's a lot. And Southwest Virginia Governor School is committed to having absolutely no cost to our families that send their students to our school. So anything we talk about today is going to be talked about, and you can think about, well, I can't afford that. It doesn't matter, because none of that stuff's ever going to cost you anything. Even like this laptop I'm using right now, all of our students have that same laptop, and students don't pay anything for that. You don't pay anything for books. We're going to talk about science fair projects. We're going to talk about some trips that our students have. None of that costs our families anything. So these are the classes we have at Governor School. We got your science classes. We got your math classes. We got some student and career development classes that I get to teach. And then we also have some research classes. And as we're going along my presentation, you're going to see all these folks doing some science-y type looking things here. None of these are our teachers. These are all students. And if you have a keen eye, you might be able to pick up some students maybe that you know from Pulaski. So let's talk about our science classes. Yeah, we can see all those pretty well. When you start at Governor School, you choose one lab science class. So the lab science classes are biology. We have physics, and then depending where you are in your math sequence, you might take algebra-based physics or calculus-based physics. And then we have inorganic college chemistry. Those are the 3 science classes that are available to our first-year students. And some kids say, well, I don't want to take chemistry. I already took chemistry. Any of you guys take chemistry before you came to Governor School and then took it there?
I'm not taking it, we haven't taken it again yet.
Okay. Okay, so these are all bad examples because some of our students take chemistry before they come to Gov School, and they think maybe that they don't want to take it again, but it's not really an again situation, because the college chemistry class covers what's covered in a high school chemistry class in about 4 weeks. So there's a lot more there. So if you've already taken chemistry, you're going to have a head start, but you're going to run out of it pretty quickly. But other than that, I mean, students just choose whichever one of those that they want to take. And then as a second-year student, those students select a lab science, so one of those 3 that we just talked about that they didn't already take. And anatomy is also a lab science, so they can choose that science class if they'd like to. So that's their one science class, and then they choose another science class. They can take 2 labs if they want, or they can take 1 lab science and then one of these other sciences that don't have a lab, like heredity, topics, organic chemistry, astronomy. Those are some of our classes we have right now that don't have labs. Cash, you take organic chemistry, don't you? Yeah. I'm pretty sure last time I checked OChem, we were the only school in the state that offered OChem. That's pretty, it's pretty easy, right?
We don't even teach it every year.
No, we don't have OChem every year, but we try to if we have enough interest in it. But it's pretty hard class. Questions about our sciences? Okay. Here's our maths. We've got lots and lots of maths. So the way this works, students who are admitted to Governor School take a placement test from New River Community College over the summer. And based on what students achieve on that placement test, those students are put into a specific math class, all right? The idea being we want a math class that's easy enough for you that you can actually do it, but hard enough for you that you're learning something, okay? But sometimes what happens is somebody says, wait a minute, I tested into pre-calculus. I'm sure I can handle calculus. I had a bad day when I took that placement test. And that happens sometimes. So those conversations happen over the summer between our students and Ms. Pugh, our director of math. And if a student doesn't like where they were placed in math, there's some flexibility there, okay? And the same thing happens sometimes. The kid will test right into Calculus 1, and they're like, wait a minute, hold your horses. I'm not ready for that. And we'll talk about that too, okay? All of our students take Statistics 1 and 2 because we have a science fair project. Woot, woot, we had a science fair last night. We have a science fair project, and part of the component of that science fair project is you have to do a statistical analysis on your data. And if you don't understand statistics, you probably can't do that. So we take a statistics class, okay? So running through the possibilities for math, some of our students jump in at pre-calculus, so they take pre-calc 1 in the fall and then pre-calc 2 in the spring. And then the next year, they can take applied calculus 1 and 2 or even calculus 1 and 2 if they want to do that. Another route some of our students go through is pre-calc with trig, which is a 5-credit class, 5 college credits. So they take pre-calc with trig in the fall and then calc 1 in the spring. That's their first year there. And their second year there, they might take calc 2 in the fall. And then they do something else in the spring I'll talk about in a second. But some of our kids jump right in at calc 1. So they take calc 1 and 2 as a junior, and then as a senior, they jump into calc 3. And those kids who take calc 3 and calc 2 in the first semester of their senior year then can choose from linear algebra, differential equations, or both of those math classes. So if you like math, we've got math. We've got all the maths. We have 3 math teachers, and they're all, like so many of our teachers, sort of obsessed with math. We had Math League today. Guess what Mr. Muriello and Mr. Reif were doing after y'all left today?
Finished it in about 12 minutes.
You did?
No, he did.
Well, they were working on it, having a little argument about who was right about how to do some of those problems. They do it every time we have that math competition anyway. They love math. Questions about our maths? We got a lot of maths. And then we have my classes that I teach, which I could talk about all day because I think they're just fantastical. A lot of times I'll meet a new person and they say to me, Mrs. Arnold, some of them don't call me that, but they'll say, what do you do for a living? And I say, well, I'm a counselor at Southwest Virginia Governor School. I teach a study skills class. And they say, wait a minute, you teach a study skills class for advanced math and science students? Isn't that sort of a waste of time? Isn't that sort of an oxymoron? To which I say, nay, nay. Because many of our students really never had to study before. Like they just kind of show up to class and listen, maybe don't listen, and still do really, really well on tests. And maybe they haven't really ever had the need to do things like manage their time. They've always had plenty of time to do whatever they want to do and extra time left over for TikToking. So when students come to Governor School, that's not really the case anymore. So they have to study for math. They have to study for science. They don't know how to do that. So we talk very specifically about how to study for math and science, how to read based on the why you're reading, based on the purpose of your reading. So we spend a lot of time talking about that. We spend a lot of time talking about time management because, as I said, most of our students never really had to manage their time before. They just kind of had time for everything. And most of our students are really active, so they've got a lot of stuff they've got to try to coordinate. Another thing we talk about a lot in study skills class is anxiety, because the population of student that we serve tends to put a lot of demand on themselves, and they tend to be very serious about their world around them. And just like any other breathing human, life can be tough sometimes, and anxiety is a part of life. So we talk about how to identify it, how to deal with it, how to share it with other people who can lighten that load for you. It's really important. But the best part about study skills, I feel like, is because every single one of my juniors takes that class, it gives me an opportunity to really get to know every single one of my students. So juniors like Liliana and Willow, all through their study skills class that they took last semester, I had assignments for them. They would write like a paragraph about stuff that was going on. So now I know them pretty well. And when they start talking, when we start taking career education this coming week, we start talking about things like colleges and majors and jobs. I already know them, right? So I can support them as they start to try to figure that stuff out. And then, of course, Cash and Matthias, I've known them for a while, and that's where we started, right? Study skills. Did you guys, any of you guys want to talk about study skills, whether they felt like, you guys felt like that was helpful or?
I feel like the main thing that I got from study skills was like, because it was easy, but you had to pay attention. Like you can't just, like as you used to do, like sit English 10 and just not pay attention at all and take a test, get a 95 and just move on. If you're not paying attention in there, you're gonna miss stuff that you're like, why would I miss that? That's simple, but you have to pay attention in that class.
And you have to write things down that you wouldn't normally do without writing it.
We talk about taking notes, how to take notes. I literally demonstrate how to take notes because a lot of our students have never had to take notes. And all of these skills, things like time management and studying for specific subjects and taking notes, these are all things that are going to be helpful in college. So when I have students who have graduated and they come back and speak with me, this is the class they talk about. This is the class they talk about that helped them so much as they transitioned into college, all right? Then as I said, this semester I teach career education, so I'm going to be putting these folks into an internship. 1 day a week in March and April, Liliana and Willow will not come to Governor School. Hey, I've already placed you guys, right? They're going to be hanging out with Judge Chitwood on Tuesdays? Thursdays. Okay. So a judge isn't exactly math and science, right? So it doesn't even have to be a math and science internship. I placed a kid a couple years ago with a linguistics professor at Radford University because they wanted to study languages when they went to college. But I try to find something that's really interesting to you in your own community. So you don't come to school that 1 day a week, March and April, and then you go to your internship site instead. So those are the classes that I teach. These are college credit classes. Any questions about these classes? These aren't optional classes. All of our juniors take these classes because they're lucky. Then we have our research classes. So all of our students take research classes too. Our first year students take the Junior Science and Technology Seminar and Project, and our seniors take our Senior Science and Technology Seminar and Project. I mentioned a moment ago we have science fair that we do, and we don't just jump into that science fair. We really kind of take that one step at a time. And this class is where students learn to evaluate peer-reviewed research. They learn how to design a research question, how to come up with an experiment that addresses that question, how can they generate data from that experiment based on their hypothesis. You've heard of a hypothesis, right? And now that we've got that data, how do we analyze it statistically, like I mentioned before? And then once we do that, what conclusions can we draw from that data? So we go through that process step by step by step, understanding how to do science, not just learn science, but do science. And also through this process, our students are refining and coming up with their own science fair project ideas. So who would like to talk about their science fair project?
I did enough of that yesterday.
You did enough of that yet? Yeah, last night was our science fair project, so they had to present their research to like judges and stuff. So yeah, Liliana.
So I did a survey project in the psychology and social interactions category. So I evaluated the difference in emotional response between real and AI images. And so everyone who participated had to take a survey where they had 20 images that they had to rate. And there was like a free response asking if they rated images or not. And so you had to collect these surveys, and ideally, in a perfect world, you would get 30 surveys. I was able to get my 30.
You want that?
That one doesn't echo. We have this little one and I'm scared of it.
I can, everybody can hear her okay? I can hear her okay, yeah.
But yeah, so ideally you would get 30 surveys. so it can be significant in the test work. Then you analyze that, which is a struggle. And then you have to make your graphs, you write your research paper, and then you put it all together on this nice little poster board, and that's what you have at science fair, and then you present to these judges. And, I mean, it's your project, so you kind of just have to try to stay calm and remember that you know the whole project.
When you say it's your project, what does that mean?
Like you, at least for me when I was going to talk to the judges, you have to remember that you know this project inside and out, and that you need to take comfort in that you know as much about this project as you can.
And when it came to the beginning stages of this project, who came up with those ideas? We talked a lot about it, but this was something you were interested in. I didn't say to you, Liliana, you're going to study AI versus natural images of humans, and that's not how that happened. Liliana came to me and said, I really want to do something with like emotional responses and trying to figure out why people respond differently. We talked about it, right? But the important part of this, one of the important parts of our Science Fair project process, is that these projects are initiated and executed by our students. So lots of colleges, they're going to love if you've done research, but if you've done your own research that you came up with and that you did yourself, even though you were just a high school student, that looks amazing on college applications. And lots of students, maybe not as much in our neck of the woods, in our area of the world, but a lot of students do something called pay-to-play research, where maybe their parents pay labs for kids to go in there and work, and they do research, but it's not their research. So the fact that these kids do their research looks great on college applications. And one of the other things we want to be able to do on college applications is we want students to be able to reflect what their interests are and who they are as a student and as a human. And these are ways that we can do that. And there's some other ways we'll talk about in a second. Natalie, right? You have a question? You were yawning. I thought you were saying, hey. So yeah, that's how our Science Fair projects kind of come about. Anybody else want to talk about your project this year, last year?
I gave myself eye damage. Wear protection.
You gave yourself eye damage. How's that for autonomy? Maybe that wasn't a thing you should have done? I don't know. I'm not trying to judge, I'm just saying. So yeah, we had our Science Fair last night. We had our awards this morning. And those students that did well today have the option to move forward to the regional Science Fair. We'll talk more about our Science Fair in just a moment. But this is the class that supports our projects, okay? And everybody takes this class. It's 1 hour only in the fall semester, and it's taught by our 2 directors. So it's another way for the staff and the faculty there to get to know our students. We also have this Arctic geophysics class. We'll talk about that in a minute. So when we're thinking about Gov School classes, most of the kids who come to Governor School because they want to come to Governor School. So they're not thinking about fooling around too much. They kind of really want to learn stuff. They really want to care about things. They really want to get involved in things. And because students are similar in that kind of motivation, we're able to go fast, like really kind of very, very fast and cover a lot of ground. And there's always situations where kids say, wait a minute, you're covering this thing, and I don't know this thing, and I need to know this thing before I know this thing. What am I going to do? So you talk to your teacher about that thing you don't know, and your teacher helps you figure that out. You're not going to be left alone in that situation, right? Ever happen to any of you guys that you realize you didn't know something that you probably should have known? Yeah?
Well, also, like, there were definitely things I didn't know, but also, like, let's say you're having trouble with, like, math, and you go to your teacher, they explain it to you, it doesn't really make sense. You can go to any of the other math teachers there. They are all very well versed in their subject, so they can also help you just the same as the teacher that is teaching your class.
Yeah, we all kind of work together on most things. I mean, pretty much everything. We kind of support each other, right? But yeah, that's absolutely true. And all of our teachers are really, like, as I said before, really kind of obsessed with what it is that they teach. So if you ever were to ask them a question they didn't know the answer to, you better believe they're going to find it out, because they're not going to want to be in a situation where they don't know something. So they're going to do research, and they're going to figure that out. They're going to ask some questions to some of their own colleagues to try to figure that out, help you figure that out. So our classes are truly college level classes. Everybody who teaches at our school, except me, everybody else either teaches at a college right now or has recently taught at a college or university. And the classes that they teach are almost identical to what they teach at Governor's School. So there's lots of different ways we try to give you a little taste of college. One of the things that we do, and I think the most important thing that we do, is we give you access to college professors, to college instruction. That's very difficult to find at a high school level. But, and we are actually, as I said, we're on a college campus. So there's a lot of that, just the environment there that's very college oriented. And I said before, everybody's got to take at least one lab class. So you spend time in the lab every week, 2 hours every week. You're in your lab that's associated with your science class. And then we've got all these different counties that can send students to our Governor's School. So that's a whole new group of students and friends and people who may be very similar to you that you can meet and that you can hang out with. Anybody over here ever hang out with somebody else from another school, not Pulaski? Yeah, those relationships come pretty naturally, especially Pulaski and Montgomery, because Pulaski and Montgomery students are the kids who come at 7. They come from 7 to 10, and all of our other districts come from 8 to 11. So the Pulaski and Montgomery students get there early and commiserate, bring each other coffee, stuff like that sometimes. But they tend to kind of get really kind of tight with one another pretty quickly. So we've got these challenging courses for gifted students, advanced material. Really want to encourage you to use your individual interests for things like those internships that I talked about and your science fair project that I mentioned. There isn't a whole lot at Governor's School where it's like, here, memorize this stuff and then tell it back to me. There's a lot of putting things together in new ways, figuring things out on your own. Those are kind of the way that we try to do things now. There's always going to be a degree of memorization, but there's always going to be terms you need to remember, or if you take anatomy, you got to remember the bones and then the polyatomic ions if you take chemistry. But that's not the thrust of what we're doing. There's a lot more pulling it together in a new way that we try to do at Governor's School. And then, as I said, absolutely no cost to our families for their college credit, and students leave Governor's School with the tools that they need to be successful in college. So let's look at the schedule. This is where we get down to the nitty-gritty. So students from Pulaski come to Gov School at 7. So Liliana, what do you have at 7? Biology. So Liliana's got biology at 7 o'clock, and then stats at 8 with Mr. Reif, and then 9 o'clock is pre-calc. So 7, 8, and 9, Phillips, Reif, Pugh? Phillips, Reif, Pugh. And then you can see the Monday schedule is the same as the Wednesday schedule, which is also the same as the Friday schedule. And again, this is how college classes work. When you go to college, you have a class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then you have some other sets of classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's how those match up. So that's the way that Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays go for us. And then, do you have your lab on Thursday? You have your lab on Tuesday, right? So Liliana has her lab and science fair on Tuesday. So this is Liliana's schedule. So on her lab day, she'll have science fair class with Ms. Pugh at 7, and then she'll have her lab from 8 to 10, right? And then Thursday is what we might call the work day. So on the work day, a student has 1 hour of study skills class with me, and the rest of that time is what we call recitation times. It's very similar to what you would think of as like a study hall. This is another little taste of college that we try to give our students, because one of the biggest problems kids have when they start college is they've never had unstructured time. They don't know what to do with that. Like if you think about your day today, somebody told you where to be all day long while you were at school, right? You didn't decide, you know what, it's 9:30, I think I'll go over to that. No, you had a schedule you had to follow. When you go to college, it's not that way. There's lots of time where you're just kind of figuring it out on your own. So to be able to do that on your own in little small pieces as you go along through Governor's School really does kind of prepare you what to do with those big amounts of open time. So friends over here, tell me how you use your recitation time.
It's been a while since we've had a proper recitation.
You had recitation with me today.
Well, that I actually used.
It was only 20 minutes because we had the
But usually, whenever specifically my junior year, is when I use it
Well, kind of anything though, right? Because on Tuesdays and Thursdays, our teachers aren't teaching, right? Like as I said, all those lab stuff that you saw on these slides, that's students doing those labs. So when a lab starts, for example, Ms. Phillips says, hey, today we're going to do all this stuff. Now you do this stuff. And then Ms. Phillips isn't teaching anymore. So students can come the whole time and ask her questions, and they're supposed to. That's why we designed it this way. But somebody else over here, tell me how you use recitation time differently from what Matthias does.
Yeah, so like Matthias, I also use it too. It's mostly just my do homework time because I play soccer, so I have sports in the afternoon, and it's hard to be able to get everything done and still like have a functional sleep schedule. But also, I mean, it's just time to hang out. You can go to the student lounge, make popcorn, make ramen, talk to other people. It's just really laid back. It's a really laid back time if you don't have any work to do. You just don't feel like doing it.
You're really selling
Okay, I'm not going to point the finger at anybody, but let's say, for example, there were a student who was not caught up on their work. And maybe they had fallen behind, maybe they missed a test or something like that. Recitation time is a great time. As I said, those teachers aren't teaching. So it's a great time for those teachers to go find that kid and say, hey, you missed my quiz, when are we going to work on this? Or, hey, I saw your homework and you kind of didn't seem to get this concept, let's work through this concept together. So yes, we want you to use that time in whatever way you see fit. You can make your popcorn. You can talk to your math teacher. You can work on your classes for Pulaski County High School, that's fine. A lot of our students use their recitation time to work on college applications or admissions essays, things like that. That's fine too. Some kids take that time to read a novel. That's fine. Sometimes kids take a snooze. And you know, sometimes you had a late soccer game and that was tough for you and you're taking a snooze, and I'm going to say, well, that kid must be pretty tired, I'm going to take a snooze. They take a snooze the second day, I'm going to say, wait a minute, let's find out why this kid is snoozing. But really, we really do try to give you as much leeway as we can for you to figure out how to use that time. And there's great ways to use that time wisely, and there's lots of other choices too. So that's a great way to figure out the way those things are going to work for you, right? But the most important thing is nobody teaches during that time. You're expected to go to your teachers and ask them questions. And go to them and say, hey, here's my homework from last night. Does this look right? And them to say, yes, that looks right, you don't need to do any more. Or, no, you're on the wrong track, why don't you fix these things before you turn it in and get a grade? Okay, so recitation time, you get 2 hours as a first semester student. Now you guys don't have science fair class anymore, so that's 3 hours of recitation that they're gonna have now. And then as a senior, you no longer have my classes, so potentially, depending on your schedule, that could be another hour of recitation. Kind of gets bigger and bigger as time goes on, okay? And giving you that autonomy, giving you that freedom to figure that out, that expresses itself in a few other ways in our school. Another thing that we do at our school is, like if you have to go to the bathroom, you don't ask to go to the bathroom. If you have to go to the counseling office, you don't ask to come and see me. If you need some popcorn, you don't ask, hey, you gonna go get some popcorn? Because can you imagine if you said, hey, can I go get some popcorn in Mr. Brown's class? He'd be like, why are you interrupting me to talk to me about popcorn? I'm talking about diatoms. What are you talking about in OChem? I'm talking about carbon. I don't know. You don't know what they talk about in OChem. What I'm saying is we really don't want our students to feel like they can't go and do what they need to do. So if one of the students was to leave their class and they were gone for more than a couple minutes, then that teacher is going to text me and say, hey, where's this kid? Is this kid with you? And if they're not with me, I'm going to go find them. Because, you know, it's not like you're going to run really willy-nilly all over the place. And sometimes you do get kicked out of the student lounge if you've been in there too long, for example. But we want you to make those decisions. We want you to figure out how to pay attention to what you need to do and follow that. And not derail other students for having to go to the bathroom. So.
Getting kicked out of the student lounge happens a lot during science fair time.
Yeah. So some kids say, I can't go to SWIVIGUS because I have lots of extracurricular activities that I participate in. Everybody does. Everybody does. We had some folks a couple years ago wanted to do a science fair project. They were interested in finding out if a student rated their life satisfaction, their stress levels, their relationships with their friends, their relationships with their families, if they could self-rate those things, is there a relationship between those ratings and the number of extracurricular activities that that student participates in? I thought that was a great project. Yeah, let's do that. Let's figure that out. So the first thing we need, and you all have taken some science, so you know that the first thing we need is a control, right? So the first thing we got to do is find some kids who don't participate in extracurricular activities. And we couldn't find any. Everybody does. One kid that we talked to was in 27 extracurricular activities. I don't know when she slept. But I said 20, 2, 7. I tried to write it backwards so you could read it. You didn't know them probably. Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah, that's okay. But so yeah, we know that students want to participate in extracurricular activities because you're probably going to go to college. That's probably something you're thinking about. You know that that makes your college application look good, right? But way more important than that, you are a kid and you need to do things like have fun and hang out with your friends and explore the world and figure out what you like and get some exercise and go outside and be competitive with other people and be supportive of other people. We want our students to be able to do that because we want our students to be like real humans, right? Not just only academics, but entire peoples. So we've got lots of drum majors at our school and other types of leaders, FFA, FBLA, DECA. Whitney, for example, and it's not exactly extracurricular, but she's at clinicals right now, so that's what she's not here. But 60% of our students play at least one sport. 40% of our students play 2 or more sports during the school year. So very, very, very busy kids. And sometimes those kids get so busy that they feel they don't have enough time to do everything they want to do. So they come to me and they talk to me about their schedules. And we sit down together and we have our little graphic organizers and we work through everything and help them figure out how to manage their time in a way that's going to let them get everything that they want to finished. And y'all in extra, Cash, you said soccer. Matthias, I know you're in band. What extracurriculars do you guys, what other stuff do you guys do besides that stuff? National History Day, DECA. Mm-hmm. Do y'all do anything, you gentlemen do anything besides those things I just mentioned? And we've got students who are like really active in their churches. We've got kids who are really active in scouts, or maybe they have a job. All those things come together for our students in a way that can work out. It's just a matter of figuring it out. And students are very well supported in trying to figure those things out. They don't have to do that on their own. So let's talk about some of our special opportunities we have at Governor School. Again, a lot of these have some entrance fees that Governor School pays. So these are some of our math competitions. Today, our students took Virginia Math League, which is a little sort of like logic puzzle quiz. It's like 6 questions, and we do that once a month. And those scores are tabulated and submitted to the state of Virginia. Oftentimes, we have students who place 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 8th in the state for their grade level. We also have Math Kangaroo, which some of our students are invited to participate in. But we also have lots of kids who don't even go to Governor School because Math Kangaroo is for every grade level, and we're a testing center. So like 2nd graders will come, or 5th graders will come. And Math Kangaroo is a really cool competition. You can tell by the kangaroo part, it started in Australia. But it's really cool because it happens in the entire world all in one day, which is really cool. And everybody's test is leveled for their age and in their native language. So there have been students who've come to our school before that have taken their Math Kangaroo test, and it's not in English. And it's really cool because all the pictures are the same, because if it's like a 2nd grader, there's lots of pictures in it. All the pictures are the same, but the languages are completely different. So it's really, really cool. And we've had students who've placed really high in Math Kangaroo before, and that's pretty cool. And then American Mathematics Competition, that's really expensive. I don't know if you guys knew that. That's really expensive for you guys to participate in. And a couple of students that I had last year when they were applying to colleges were asked, have you ever taken American Mathematics contest? Or what was your score? So colleges, I'm thinking about like tier 1 colleges like Ivy League, stuff like that. They're starting to ask, hey, do you have access to this test? Have you taken this test? Because it's a tough test. It's not supposed to be easy, or nobody's supposed to get all the questions right on that test. But it's, again, this is a way that students often will rank in the state for their grade level or even nationally. So that's a really cool competition. And then this opportunity is just absolutely stunning and amazing. In about 2 weeks, 2 of our students are going to go to Alaska and do some research on the sea ice up there in Alaska. There's kind of a little tryout sort of competition thing that happens, and 2 students join a class from Radford University, Arctic geophysics class, and they go and do research on the sea ice. And they have to fly up there. Obviously, you can't swim. You got to fly. And the plane tickets are paid for. If you need a parka, any of that, you know, all that stuff is paid for our students. There's no cost for our students to do that. This happens every other year. So like I said, this is happening in a couple of weeks with 2 of our students, and then it'll happen again, like in your senior year is when it'll happen again. And the 2 students that went to Alaska before, one of them is now studying engineering at Georgia Tech, which I don't know if you've heard of Georgia Tech. It's a pretty tough school to get into. And the other one is studying pre-med at Stanford, which is a little college in California. And I'm not saying that they got into those schools because they went on this trip and did this research and presented this research in lots of different places in their senior years, but it probably didn't hurt, right? So look at all that stuff. That's wild. To be able to go to Alaska, you have to write a paper about what you would do. They have to live there. What you would do if a polar bear comes over to you. I don't want to know. I'm going to say, Mr. Reif, can you take care of that for me? And then here's some of our science fairs. Yesterday we had our Governor's School Science Fair, but then a bunch of those folks are going to go to the Blue Ridge Highlands Regional Science and Engineering Fair at Radford University. There, kids are able to win some scholarships and some cash prizes and rain gauges and pennants and all kinds of stuff. You'll see. And then the kids who do well there are invited to go to the Virginia State Science and Engineering Fair. And the kids that win that state fair or the Blue Ridge Highlands Fair are all invited to go to the International Science Fair. It's called International, but it's always in the United States. This year it's in Phoenix. You want to go? Go ahead and win the Regional Science Fair because you have to take your sponsor with you. So we'll go to Phoenix. All the dry air would be great to reduce the frizz in my hair. And then we also have the Virginia Junior Academy of Sciences. So Liliana mentioned a moment ago as she was doing her project, she was writing a paper. So if her paper was of high quality, her sponsor would recommend to the VJS that they read it and think about it. And if they accept her paper and she presents their paper to them, her abstract will be published in their annual journal. So she could potentially be a published scientist before she graduates from high school, before she's a senior in high school. So that would be pretty cool. Questions about our science fairs? One time I went to state science fair once and I had a person come up to one of my students and ask to talk to her about patenting her device that she made for her science fair project. She developed this sleeve that a kid could put on, a kid who had palsy, which is like a shaking in their arm. So she devised this sleeve that had a ballast between it to stabilize that arm. And she was approached at our state science fair and asked if she wanted to patent that. And now she works at the University of Pennsylvania. Fake legs, what are those called? Prosthetic lab, thank you. It's been a long 24 hours. Yeah, so she's changing the face of people's lives in the research that she's doing now. She's pretty awesome. So why should you apply to Governor's School? Well, you make some amazing new friends. Lots of our students end up meeting people that they room with in college. Our director actually met her husband at Governor's School. They both went to Governor's School at the same time. And you know, you tend to find people that a lot of people say they find their tribe at Governor's School. They find people that are like them, that want the same things out of life, that are very accepting of each other. Have you guys found that Governor's School is sort of a easy place to make friends? You feel? Yeah. This is leading question. I'm giving you leading questions. Shared pain. Okay. Commiseration. Right?
I feel like you, especially with your first block class, since we are early, and like she said, we get really close to Christiansburg kids. In my pre-calculus and trig class, it was me, Cash, Whitney, and then a random Christiansburg kid named Aiden, who we've pretty much accepted as a part of Pulaski now. Honorary Pulaski.
Me,
Yeah.
Haley, and then Chloe from Christiansburg.
Yep. There's always one Christiansburg kid tossed in there. So a lot of folks find that they meet people that become very meaningful to them throughout their whole lives. So that's a great reason to think about Governor's School. I mentioned the new freedoms, that when you can have that recitation time, you can have that autonomy during your school day, those opportunities, those competitions I mentioned. love to talk about confidence and how we build confidence, because we don't build confidence by doing easy stuff that we've always been really, really good at. We build confidence by doing things that are out of our comfort zone, things that are difficult for us. And that's how we build confidence. If you try to do stuff that's really difficult and you aren't successful at it, that maybe doesn't help your confidence too much. But at Governor School, you're trying to do stuff that's out of your comfort zone, trying to do stuff that's really difficult, and you have tremendous support in doing that. So if you feel like you're not doing well, we're going to help you. That's why we're there. We want you to be successful. We want you to develop that confidence. And we're really fortunate in our relationship with Pulaski County High School that we work really closely with each other who do, we have students who do need that additional support. We're able to work together to make sure that that happens, all right? So confidence is something that can really serve you throughout your whole life, and it's great if you can develop that when you're in high school and you're getting ready to make these big decisions for yourself. And then 2 years of college credit is pretty great too. I don't know if you've heard about college, it's pretty expensive. I know I have 2 of my kids have already finished college, and I have 2 in college right now. So I'm hungry because they took all my money and I don't have any money for my food. You can also build some really competitive applications for colleges. Colleges tell me all the time that what they look for in applications is they want to know if you're taking rigorous classes. Are you taking tough classes or are you taking easy classes? That's what they want to know. They'd rather see you get an A in they'd rather see you get like a B in Calc 2 than get an A in, what was that science class you told me today that you take, Cash? Oceanography? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy because I don't know. I've never taken it. Okay, but I know Calc 2 is hard. So if you want to demonstrate yourself and make yourself competitive on a college application level, this is a great way to do that. Right now, there's only 19 academic governor schools in Virginia, so even being able to attend one of those is really a feather in your cap. We have these internships and research projects that are really unusual and unique and pique the interest of colleges. Most importantly, I feel like you learn these study strategies. You have these strong foundations in math and science. And we've got students who never want to go into a math-related field, but they go into college, they never have to take another math. Then we have kids who do kind of want to go into a math-related field, maybe don't mind taking a few more math classes, and so oftentimes they can take 2, maybe 3 more classes and they have a math minor, and it comes to them like that. But they have strong foundations in math and science, and they're ready to roll when it comes to things like figuring out how to do difficult stuff when you've got rules you need to follow. This is what math teaches you. Math has lots of different rules, and it gives you difficult problems, and you take those rules and apply them in new ways. That's what math teaches you. And you take that with you to college and throughout your life. Students who get straight A's at their home high school pretty much always get straight A's at Gov School too. So a lot of kids think, I don't want to come, I don't want to tank my GPA. Well, that's probably not going to happen. We talked a moment ago about confidence. We've got college recruiters that are able to come to our school. In fact, we've got a bunch of transfer fair. I think we've got 15 colleges coming to New River next week. And then, as I said, 2 years of college credit. So these are some of our students that are doing some science. Wasn't she Pulaski? I'm trying to see if there's any other Pulaski kids there. So here's our entrance. So there's like this bus circle here, and then right by that blue car, that's where this sidewalk goes, and there's our doors to come into our facility. You come in the doors, the first thing you see is the security office is right there as you come in. And then right next to that is my classroom. So students are kind of right, as soon as they walk through the door, they're right in the safest part of New River Community College. And then these are some of our labs. In about a week and a half, something like that, 2 weeks, y'all are going to have the opportunity to come and visit, like a field trip style, to our school. And if you do that, you'll be in each of these labs doing lab work. I think one thing that Ms. Phillips did last year was testing to specific samples to see whether that sample came from a person who has diabetes. And there's all these different tests to do. So it's like you doing real science while you're there in our labs. And then these are some of our classrooms. As I said, everybody gets a laptop, but we also have these computer labs in case you don't have your laptop. And You have access to printing, unlimited printing for free for whatever you need to print. Doesn't have to necessarily even be governor school stuff. Here's some of our offices. I went into my new office today. I can't wait to show it to you guys. It's going to be amazing. This is our big class that big room we have like science fair classes, stuff like that in. So let's talk about what we need to do for applications, all right? To apply to Governor School writes an application, and then we give it to our constituent schools, and then we're not a part of that process at all anymore. So once I give the applications to Ms. Pratt, any questions you have about what's required of the application or when it's due, anything like that is going to be specific to Pulaski County. It's not necessarily going to match up with anybody else. Some of our counties require their students to have like interviews with their superintendent or with our director. Some schools require additional testing like COGAT, stuff like that. Do you guys, do you have PSAT? Do they have to have done PSAT?
So that used to be a requirement. It is not anymore. So
Okay.
we will look at it if you have it, but it will not negatively impact your application if you don't.
Okay, all right. And we don't require that. The only thing Governor School requires is that you've taken Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. That's it. We have some students who take Algebra 2 and go into pre-calculus, and we have some students who take Algebra 2 and then go straight into Calc 1. So that's just a matter of how you do on that placement test. So yeah, I want to encourage you to come and visit so that you can see for yourself what Governor School is like and see what our teachers are like, because we're not like other teachers. What did I miss? What did I not say? Well, let me ask one question of the seniors, because you're 3/4 of the way done now. Looking back at it when you were in these seats, what is your idea about Governor School now versus what it was back then? Can you remember?
It's a lot more than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Because I did both the Governor School and the Cougar Scholars Program. So if I have to give you one piece of advice, it's if you're going to do both, make sure you are willing to put all the work in, because it is a lot.
And I was gonna ask you guys about your feedback about doing both, because I imagine many of you attended the Cougar Scholars and Closed Session this morning. And so it certainly is an option to do both. And if you're considering both programs, and you're not sure which program is gonna be the best fit for you, go ahead and apply for both. And then, when we sit down and we determine the students who are accepted, if you've applied to both, we're gonna sit down with you and your families, and we're gonna talk through what both programs look like, what it will look like doing both at the same time, and then you may choose at that point and commit to one or the other or both. But it is a lot.
It is
A lot. So,
And this is a question that I have. The students who do Cougar Scholars have like a specific sort of curriculum that they follow, but the kids who do both is a little bit different, right?
yes. So
Okay.
if you are in Governor School and pursuing your associate's degree through Cougar Scholars, you will pursue an Associate's of Science, which aligns more with the courses you take at Governor School. And you'll have your course of study, which will differ from those who are Cougar Scholars but not Governor School students.
Okay, so what about my juniors? You guys, ladies who've been there for half a year. What are your thoughts? And maybe this isn't the best day to ask this because we just got done with science fair, and the science fair is like I told my family on Sunday, Thursday is the most difficult day of the year for me, and I don't have a project. Oh, what? Well, I kind of asked you both together, but Cash, what do you got for me?
I was just gonna say I think I learned a lot about myself going through Gov School, because when I was in this meeting when I was in 10th grade, I remember I had my whole life planned out. I was gonna go to Gov School, I was gonna go to Tech to study civil engineering, and I was just gonna do that. And then the first time I took a hard math class, I realized I hated math. So I figured out, oh, this isn't what I want to do. And then I loved chemistry, so I took another science class. I was like, oh, anatomy's really cool. So I was like, what can I do with this? And
So where are you going now?
Either JMU or VCU.
Nice.
I'm in the same boat. I took a hard math class, discovered I hated math, and now I'm going into cybersecurity.
Not everybody hates math that goes to Gov School. I want to preface that. Just because we both hate it doesn't mean everybody.
I love math. I don't know.
There's some people in there because I don't know if you mentioned it, but when you get like when you take Calc 2 and you're picking your like linear algebra or differential equations, you can choose to do both. And there's some people that are doing both because they love math. I'm like, you do you. I'm just gonna do one.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you sharing that. How about you, ladies? What are your thoughts on what you thought Gov School was based versus what it actually is?
Kind of the same thing. It was more difficult than I kind of expected it to be. I also do both Gov School and Cougar Scholars, so you really have to be able to learn how to manage your time with that. It's probably the most important thing I've learned is how to, you need to study and you need to do your homework and you need to apply yourself a lot more than you've had to in the past. And so that was difficult to learn, but
Worth it. Is it worth it?
and I think that that will help more when I get into college. Like that's something I can carry on, so that's important. But I mean that's about it. I'm kind of just talking to someone a lot about it and still kind of figuring out what I'm going to study when I go to college. But I think that Gov School's a good place to kind of figure that out.
Questions? Comments? Smart remarks? Jokes? Limerick?
Ask right there, bombs down.
So, oh, go ahead.
I had a question. You said you could get a minimum of 50 college credits. What's the max? Or is there-
Well, like we just talked about before, Matthias said it, like kids can take 2 of those math classes if they want to. Some of our math classes are 5 credits, some are 3. So I think the maximum you can get is maybe 64, something like that. But like, for example, we do have some districts that send students as sophomores. So those kids end up with a lot more. Do any of you guys know how many you're going to end, well, maybe you seniors. Do you guys know how many college credits you're going to end up with between the DE classes you take here and the DE classes at Gov School?
Stop counting after 60 because that's the maximum Virginia Tech takes.
No, it's not.
Well, then I got mine too.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, it can really be a lot. Yes.
So your classes aren't like college classes, right? Like they don't count.
They are New River Community College classes, yes, but they're not on the Pulaski County High School report card.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they don't go toward your GPA here.
And same thing for the seminar classes.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. How many people do we accept?
So, we accept a total of 15 Cougar Scholars and Governor School students. If you are accepted into Governor School and Cougar Scholars, then you only take up 1 spot in that number. We did have about 30 applicants last year, so it is competitive. Yes.
For the recommendations, do they have to be an academic teacher or can they be
For our application, I think what we're asking for is 1 science teacher, 1 math teacher, and 1 other teacher. So a lot of times if kids ask me in these situations, which I don't evaluate these applications, Pulaski County does, but my recommendation would be the science teacher that you have had recently that you feel like knows you really well, the same thing with your math teacher, and then choose another teacher who knows you well, because it's not just about math and science. It's about how you handle challenges, how you deal with obstacles when they get in your way. So, and you always want to find a teacher too that you think is probably going to say nice stuff about you, and probably a teacher who you feel like is going to be able to write pretty well. Yeah, but I encourage you to talk to Ms. Pratt about that. She could probably help you figure that out if you're not like, oh yeah, now I know. Ms. Pratt can help you out with that.
So the applications are available, and you can pick one of these up today if you are interested. Just like the Cougar Scholars application, it is due back to us in school counseling on March 12th. So you have about a month, a little under a month, to get those both turned in. And those need to be turned in by the end of business, so that'll be by 3:30 on that deadline. another opportunity that you have to learn more about the Governor's School and to see it in action is we will visit the Governor's School on Thursday, February 26th. And so we will leave at 9:45. We'll be there from 10 to I think about 1:30, but you will be back here by 2 o'clock for sure on that day. We will eat lunch at Governor's School. We will bring school lunches. There is a permission form that's this hot pink. You can't miss it. We won't be able to miss it in all of our papers. So on the form, it will ask you or ask your parent, are they bringing a packed lunch? Do they need a school lunch? So if you'll make sure to circle that, let us know. And then if you have a peanut butter or peanut allergy, let us know that as well, because it looks like those lunches may be the Uncrustables. Yes.
Application like on the Cougar Scholars one, is there questions that you have to type out and answer so that?
Oh, like on the Governor's School application?
Yeah.
So I know Miss Miano was going to stress, like, type those responses on your Cougar Scholars application because we weren't able to read them all last year if they were handwritten. I can't remember what this says.
I don't think it requires it. I know we only get the applications back to us of the students that were accepted. And
Answers should be completed on a separate sheet of paper and attached to the student application. I tell you, we do prefer it typed. It's just easier. Those responses are copied and then evaluated by teachers. And sometimes with the handwritten in pencil, they don't copy well. They're really hard to make out. And then, of course, handwriting can come into play. So I would tell you we would prefer it to be typed. That's not a requirement that is in this application, but it is required to be on a separate piece of paper. These are the questions you're responding to. That little bit of space, in all of reality, should not be enough to really adequately answer the questions, or at least to answer them legibly that we can read them. So, separate piece of paper. And I would just reiterate, read through this, make sure you are familiar with what you are supposed to do and follow the directions, okay? Just like I think Ms. Miano probably said with your Cougar Scholars application, if you can't follow the directions, then probably not, your application will probably be disqualified. Like, we're looking for, highest level, it's also so competitive, but we're looking for the highest level students who are paying attention and following those directions. So the same kind of goes with this as well. With the field trip to Governor's School, this permission form is available up here. The first page is just information you can tear off and keep so you remember the details that you need to know. The second sheet you guys need to complete, parents sign, you sign, and then you take it around to each teacher because you will potentially be missing a little bit at least of all 4 blocks. And so we want to make sure that they know as well. These permission forms are due back to school counseling by Friday, February 20th. So that's here on this front page. And you must be in good standing and have your completed health information form on file to be able to attend. Yes.
We drop all these off to you.
Yes. You can put them in my door if I'm not in there. You can hand them to Miss Carter, who's out in the middle there. But yes, they'll come back to school counseling. Any other questions?
I just want to encourage you, if you even think you might be interested, a lot of students will come on that field trip and they're like, you know what, this is not for me. It's not my vibe. But a lot of times they will come and say, you know what, this seems like it's really something that I'm interested in. So don't close the door on Governor's School until you're sure that you don't want to do it. And the application itself, I want to encourage you to go ahead and grab one because in that application is a lot of information about the classes that we have. You can just kind of leaf through it and find out even more information about us. We also have a website. You can hop on the website. I'm the first person in the faculty page because my last name starts with A. And you can send me an email if you have any questions, and I'll help you out with that. Your folks can do that if they have questions.
And questions about the application, the process, the field trip, you can send those my way. Okay? All right, you guys we'll send you on. Come up and get an application, a field trip.